The chime of the bell beckons us into a sacred time. To those here in our sanctuary and those viewing the service online, good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, where we widen love's circle by honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all. Buenos días y bienvenidos a esta comunidad donde ampliamos el círculo del amor, honrando el valor y la dignidad inherentes de todos. We extend a heartfelt and inclusive invitation to join us in meaningful worship and service to the world. After the benediction, You are all invited to enjoy coffee and conversation in Channing Hall right through those doors. Now, please turn to your gray hymnals to number 225. Oh, come, let us adore him. Please, that's not the name of it. Please, oh, come, Emmanuel. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing.
We gather this morning with words from former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Susan Frederick Gray. If you are an immigrant, a refugee, undocumented, you are welcome here. If you are Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, Zoroastrian, a theist, or an atheist, you are welcome here. If you are gay or straight, a man or a woman, transgender or queer, you are welcome here. If you have a disability, visible or invisible, you are welcome here. If you want for nothing, or if you struggle each day to make it through, you are welcome here. If you are heartbroken, angry, or afraid, you are welcome here. If you feel strong, powerful, and ready, you are welcome here. If you hold a dream of peace and love alive in your heart, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, you, your family, your whole self is welcome here. For this is a community of diversity and inclusion, and it is good to be together. Come, friends, let us worship.
Please join with me in reciting our congregational covenant, which you'll find printed in the words of your bulletin. Love is the spirit of our congregation. Service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to encourage one another. Thus do we covenant.
We light an Advent wreath to mark both the days approaching the winter solstice and the advent of Christmas. Last Sunday, the first Sunday of Advent, we lit a candle in the south to honor the element of fire and evoke hope. Inspired by the neo-pagan tradition, this second Sunday of Advent, we light a candle in the east, honoring the element of air. Air gives the gift of spirit. Spirit comes from the Latin spiritus, the intake of breath. Inspired by the Christian tradition, the second candle is also lit to symbolize the expectation of peace. As the dove of peace gently soars on air, may the winds of peace drift over the earth. In the Jewish faith, the 8-day holiday of Hanukkah, or Festival of Lights, is celebrated by lighting a special menorah to symbolize the rekindling to commemorate the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem. Today, on the 4th day of Hanukkah, we light 4 candles. Asa will now say the traditional blessings in Hebrew.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahad l'kner shal Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher asa nisim la'avotenu v'imotenu ba'yamim hamim bazeh hazah.
Carol and I would like to invite the young folks to come up to the front of the sanctuary for Time for All Ages. Got a couple coming up from way in the back.
Yay. Hello, everyone. Can you sit right here on the ground and listen? Here, turn towards us.
Yeah,
so
you guys
hear
can
the story.
come.
Turn towards us. Turn towards Reverend Colin and me so you can hear the story, okay? Thanks. All right. Ah, yeah.
They're still coming up
Good
from in back.
morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, we want to tell you about something. We're so glad you're here.
All
Hi,
right,
Sam. Come on, Sam. All right.
Okay, so in service today, we're talking about what our congregation has done over the years to help refugees.
Do you know what refugees are? Yeah? Any idea at all? Tell us what refuge means.
It's kind of like hiding a place where people can hide or something.
Yeah, he says maybe a place where someone can hide. I think that's really close, yeah. So a refugee is somebody who is living somewhere where it becomes not safe for them anymore. So maybe they're in their home country, and for some reason, maybe it's a war, or maybe because it's a place, and maybe it's a place where people can't speak up and say what they know to be true, and then it becomes dangerous for them. So a refugee is somebody who ends up in a different country because they can no longer stay in their country. And that happens here in the United States. We end up having people here who are refugees. But it's a great news because our church over the years has helped people. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what to do because it makes us really sad because it must be really hard. So,
Yeah, so a long time ago, back in the 1980s,
maybe before your parents were born.
was that a few hundred years ago? Is that what you just said? No, it wasn't quite that long ago. This congregation created what was called a sanctuary for someone who was a refugee. So you probably heard the word sanctuary before?
Yeah, look
maybe?
around. We're in one, right?
Right.
We call this the sanctuary, don't we?
And a sanctuary means a place of refuge or safety. And we want our sanctuary to feel like a place where we're all safe together, safe to worship in the way our heart calls us to do, and safe to be together. But in another situation, a sanctuary is a place created for someone who is in danger to come to be safe. And that's what we did here in our congregation in the 1980s. We made a place in the congregation for somebody to spend the night so that they could be safe as they were fleeing the country from down south in the Central America.
And for several nights, like
And
months.
several months,
Yeah.
for months. So since then, we found lots of other ways to help families by providing furniture and towels and food and helping them find jobs. And we continue to help undocumented migrants and people who are here as refugees a lot, which is what we'll be talking about today. And if you and your parents want to learn how to do more of that, there'll be a table in Channing Hall after the service.
And what about things kids can do? Have you ever seen anybody in your school who maybe came from a different country? It might be because they were a refugee, but they also might be somebody that we call an immigrant, because some people come to this country because they want to, and some people come because they have nowhere to go. Do you have anybody in your school who's like that?
Actually, my co-teacher, her name is Miss Ikuko, and she actually lived in Japan. It's not like she's like a refugee, she just moved here.
Yeah, we have people who move here, but also there might be some people in your school who don't speak the language or who are new. And what could we do to help? Do you have something to say? Yeah. She knows somebody in her school that's from Turkey. Some people live in Texas like in a different country or a desert. So yeah, that's true. And we could have people moving here from other cities, right? But if somebody doesn't speak the language and they come and they're different, they're eating different kind of food and stuff like that, sometimes people can be mean to them because they're different. But what could we do? Be kind. We could be kind. She said that they could stop the people who are bullying them. That's a very good idea, too. Yeah. Yeah, so we can be kind, we can ask others to be kind, and that is what we wanted to tell you about today. And now we're getting ready to go to our groups. But before we do, Reverend Colin has one more thing he wants to say. But before Reverend Colin says one more thing, let's have us ready to sing the song As You Go, and you'll find those words in your order of service.
Yeah, and we hope that you guys have a wonderful time off in your religious education classes today. And we want you to know that we love you guys and that you're not just the future of the congregation, but our present, and we are always delighted to have you with us here today. So have a great time in your classes.
All right, as you go.
Enter with me into the space that some call prayer and others name meditation. Open yourself to the wonders and mysteries of the world. Open yourself to compassion and empathy. Take one breath. Take another. Find your center. As bombs fall on Gaza, and peace in the ancient land of Palestine seems further off than ever, as children die and homes are reduced to rubble, we take time this morning to lift up one of the great statements of human aspiration, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the 75th anniversary of which is today. Be with us, Spirit of Life, moving between each and amongst all, known by many names, but this morning found in the text of a document representing the hopes of so many. The hopes that all human beings who are born free and equal in dignity, with dignity and rights, and endowed with reason, and called to treat each other with compassion, will find that they are entitled to the same rights and freedoms, no matter how humble or great, no matter whether Israeli or Palestinian, the right to life, liberty, and security of person, the right not to be held in bondage, the right to be free of torture, the right to be held equal before the law, the right to avoid arbitrary arrest or detention, the right to seek and enjoy asylum, the right to have citizenship, the right to marry and have a family, the right to own property, the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, the right to free association and to choose one's government's representatives, the right to work, form labor unions, and enjoy a measure of economic security, the right to rest and leisure, the right to education and access to the arts and culture, and a duty to the communities that make such rights possible. Spirit of Life, be with us. Help us to name our collective aspirations, and in doing so, help us to have the high resolve to bring such aspirations into being, so that someday we might live in a world where the rights of all, Palestinian or Israeli, U.S. citizen or undocumented refugee, Ukrainian or Russian, any person living on this globe, are recognized and realized. That it might be so, I invite the congregation to say, Amen. Today, we send our compassion to the Reverend D. Scott Cooper, whose mother, Joyce Cooper, died earlier this week. We honor her and send Reverend Cooper prayers of understanding and sympathy during this difficult time. As we do, we lift up Connie Acosta, who is in the hospital this week for testing and who will be undergoing surgery on Tuesday. Corrine Harris, the granddaughter of Earl and Georgette Dredge, who sustained an injury during soccer practice. Prill McAfee, whose former partner, Boris Igor Rubaika, died this week. And Emily Smith and her family. Emily's father, Sandy Lopater, is hospitalized and undergoing serious health challenges. So we lift up these names. We also lift up Becky Smith's mother-in-law, Marie, Louise Steinberg, and wish her a happy 85th heavenly birthday. Her life and memory are a blessing to Becky and her family. We also lift up Becky's dear friend, Linda Browley, with a prayer for safe travel and a peaceful retreat for healing time. And we lift up Michael Morrison's father, who has been admitted to a long-term skilled nursing care facility with congestive heart failure. We wish him comfort and improved health. We now turn to a practice inspired by African, indigenous, and pagan traditions. We say aloud or bring to mind those who wish to be held by the loving embrace of this community. In this great cloud of witness and memory, amid this beloved community, we hear these names and hold them in our hearts. As we do, we also lift up all of the joy and sorrow that remains unspoken amongst us. We pause now in awe and wonder of the mystery, beauty, and diversity that is life. And in a time, in the spirit of love, in the spirit of hope, and in the spirit of compassion, I invite you into a time of silent meditation, reflection, or prayer.
In the quiet of this place, let this moment fill with grace, this This is my prayer.
Each week, our morning offering is shared with an organization that shares our Unitarian Universalist values and through which we may live out our principles in the world. Today, our shared offering will help to support Casa Juan Diego. Casa Juan Diego is Houston's first and only permanent migrant shelter serving refugees and asylum seekers who arrive here from all over the world. It was founded in 1980 following the Catholic worker model of Dorothy Day and Peter Marin, and operates a house of hospitality, a medical clinic, a food distribution program, and an outpatient support program for the ill and injured. Casa Juan Diego pays no salaries. All contributions will be used to provide direct services. Those in our sanctuary will find the instructions for text giving in the order of service next to the name of the shared offering recipient, and those watching the live stream will see the instructions on your screen. Our regular Sunday morning offering collection invites us to weave a tapestry of love and action. We ask you to give generously. An offering will now be gratefully received.
Please join with me to dedicate our offering. The words are found in your order of service. to the work of this church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these our offerings. It's rare that a single sermon has an enduring impact on a congregation, let alone the country. But such was the case with the Reverend Bob Shibley's text, Sanctuary. Delivered on December 11th, 1983, it inspired the members of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston to become the first congregation in the city to offer sanctuary to refugees fleeing from Central America, particularly the civil wars in Guatemala and El Salvador. These conflicts were, to some extent, orchestrated by the Reagan administration's Cold War anti-leftist policies. They brought almost 1 million Central Americans to the United States between 1980 and 1991. The Reagan administration argued that they were economic migrants rather than people fleeing violence, and rarely granted them asylum. In response, more than 500 religious communities across the United States, like First Unitarian Universalist, organized what amounted to an underground railroad to assist refugees seeking safety. Our congregation's leadership in helping to start this movement was recognized last year. We were selected as one of 4 sites in the country for the theatrical production Little Central America 1984. The production recognized congregations that had played significant roles in launching the movement. Our importance in establishing the sanctuary movement has also been recognized by the Houston Chronicle, which has quoted Reverend Shibley's sermon, from which we will hear shortly, and by the University of Houston PhD student Allison Sinez, who is writing a chapter of her dissertation on our congregation's involvement in the sanctuary movement. This morning we celebrate our 40-year commitment to supporting refugee and migrant communities with selections from Reverend Shibley's sermon and testimonials about our continuing impact, the continuing impact of our work. If you'd like to be part of it, I invite you to stop by the table in Channing Hall after the service. And now, Sanctuary from the Reverend Bob Shibley.
There is someone in trouble in Houston, an undocumented alien facing deportation, and they have broken the law, and if they are apprehended, they may be killed. Would you take them in? Would you harbor a criminal? It may be some time since you have had cause to think about moral distinctions as different from what's legal. Sanctuary is a very old concept that allows a person to go to a place separated from the world. The sanctuary is the place where the ultimate authority of God is proclaimed, where holier principles than are found in the secular world outside are honored. In ancient days, persons guilty of manslaughter could go to gain protection from avengers because the place was holy. The avengers did not dare seek vengeance there. The tradition was given new life when Quakers and Unitarians and Universalists, among others, provided refuge and protection for fugitive slaves. Large migrations are occurring around the globe. Some of this is happening in Central America, in Nicaragua, where the dictator our government installed and supported was overthrown. In Haiti, where desperate people climbed aboard unworthy craft in search of another homeland. In El Salvador, where the richest families have either fled or have sent their capital out of the country, and the economy has nearly come to a stop as the peasants who seek the land they work ask for justice, a chance to own land, the vote, civil rights. It is little wonder that many come here. In the U.S. last June, there were 500,000 Salvadoran refugees, 300,000 Guatemalan refugees, 100,000 Honduran refugees here illegally in danger and needing protection from arrest, torture, and assassination. We can save lives. We can change public opinion. We can change U.S. policy. We can heighten awareness that there's a war on in Central America. America took in the Vietnamese and the Cubans, but we send back 200 Salvadorans each week. 17,000 applied for asylum. 43 were granted asylum. There is a documented case. Santa Cherino Amayo, a young man who was ordered deported after his temporary visa expired. His name was one of those on the passenger list given to the Salvadoran government as he deplaned. And he was photographed. And a few days later, his dead, mutilated body was found in a common dumping ground. Amnesty International estimates that 30% of those deported are murdered. And now I invite you to open your hymnals to number 170. We are a gentle, angry people. Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices together in song.
In 1984, this congregation voted to risk breaking the law and house an illegal immigrant. a refugee from the civil wars in Central America. A year later, the parents of a young man in his 20s told him to leave home and go north. You see, their 9 older children had all been killed by the government's response to the uprisings. Whether apocryphal or not, the story was that people who wore glasses were suspected of being intellectuals and therefore left-wing. These 10 siblings all wore glasses. The parents sensed that their youngest's staying home would be more dangerous than his going into the unknown. So he left. What route he took, we never knew, but he made it to Houston and to a room in this church. So how did all this happen? There are 2 threads to the story. One, the Community Involvement Committee, which was the Social Justice Committee's name at the time, and 2, the sermon and the support of the Reverend Bob Shibley. When I first came to this church in 1972, the Community Involvement Committee was famous, notorious, some would say, for stirring things up. It had a certain amount of discretionary money provided to it by the board each year to give to an outside organization, and it one year chose to give that money to the leftist activist Angela Davis. You may remember her, some of you. That was the notorious part. The less controversial part was that it had helped start El Centro Chicano, a Hispanic community center. This was the kind of group I wanted to join. In the early 80s, the CIC, along with most everyone else, began to hear stories of the civilians who were being killed in Central America during the civil wars and revolutionary uprisings. But we in the CIC found a contact. Her name was Diane Trevino, who had connections to Central American activists. So we met with her and we gathered information. I don't know whose idea it was first, the CIC or Bob Shibley, but the idea was hatched to house a refugee. So obviously there was a lot of work to do. A sanctuary committee was formed to investigate the legal risks and all the logistics. We would need to carve out a space, put in a shower, provide food, and most, of course, controversial, around-the-clock protection. It would take the whole church. Needless to say, there was a lot of discussion and uncertainty. But in 1984, the board and then the congregation voted by over a 2/3 majority to go ahead. A room was outfitted near the Southmore entrance, and in the summer of 1985, this young man from Central America who wore glasses stayed in that room. Members took turns sleeping on the chancel floor in our sleeping bags, and we were prepared, we thought, to offer whatever protection we could to this young man if the legal authorities came to arrest him. Fortunately, no one ever came. That young man remained nameless to us for his protection and ours. And he later made his way to Canada where he found work. I checked with Allison Sines, the graduate student, and we don't know whether he is still alive or not. What I remember is how fraught the times were, but aren't they all? And how brave the members of this church were to support the board as it assumed great risks and responsibilities. In our small way, this church made all the difference for one young man in need of refuge. Thank you.
everybody. My name is Jade Flores. I'm with an organization called La Unidad Once. It is La Unidad means in unity, and Once came from the 11 million undocumented folks that were in the U.S. back then. So it's grown since, I'm sure, by lots. I don't know the number now. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the work that we've been able to do with you guys, with the UUs. This is what I call you guys. I don't know if that's a common term. But a couple of years ago, we got together with Cheryl and other members of this church and other faith-based groups, and we decided to start preparing for some of the folks that will be released from detention or that are coming through. And as Houston, we wanted to prepare or be best prepared, right? So we started talking about what this would look like, creating ideas, figuring out who can do what. And fast forward, we have been able to do a variety of things. Some folks come through and are going to other places, and so we've been able to maybe house them a couple of nights, give them clothing, just the bare basic hygiene needs. Some stay, and so we've been able to give them the basic things that you need to start in your brand new apartment, so pots, pans, dishes, rides to immigration, sometimes money so that they can get around. We've been able to work with them so they can learn how to ride the bus. But I did want to shed light on one of my favorite parts. It was very hectic, very stressful, but it's one of the projects that we did that we responded to collectively, and I was just so thankful, and I learned so much, and I just really, really appreciate it. And this was about 2 years ago. I got a phone call, I think around 5 a.m. from Ana Andrea. She runs a group of trans Latina women here in Houston. And she said, Jade, I just ran into 20 families at a bus station in the East End at 5 a.m. Children, there was about 20 plus people. They didn't even know what city they were in. Immigration released them, put them on a bus, and then shipped them over here, and then out they go. So we had to quickly move around and figure out what we're going to do. She let us borrow that space downstairs, her office space, and so we made a shelter. Unlike Casa Juan Diego, we have never done this, so we had to just figure it all out on the fly. And but we have a really amazing team that got together and was able to provide food, clothing, again, basic hygiene needs, rides. I remember that we were giving rides from 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning until midnight. And we were able to put all of this together thanks to the teamwork and this team of a lot of faith-based groups and other volunteers. It was really, really amazing. We did that for about, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, made it through. Everybody made it safely to wherever they were going, and there was a lot of lessons learned. I'm very thankful for the partnership the group is, and hopefully we can continue this. It evolves, it changes. We started a long time ago with just a group of moms needing to protect themselves, and look, here we are now welcoming more people and figuring out different ways. So thank you guys for the space, and thank you for the collaboration, and I look forward to the years to come, see what happens.
I've been fortunate lately to get to spend some time with Amina. Amina, whose name I have changed for privacy, is a 16-month-old girl living here in Houston with her parents. She is delightful in the way that all toddlers are, with round, chubby cheeks and a ready smile. Amina's young life has been eventful. She was born in Brazil to Afghan parents who fled the Taliban regime in fear of their lives. The family then made their way overland to the U.S., entering through the U.S.-Mexico border to claim asylum. Amina and her parents are among the more than 110 million people who are currently displaced worldwide due to violence, persecution, human rights violations, or natural disaster. This number marks the highest level of global displacement ever recorded, according to the UN. Only a small percentage of these people will eventually be accepted into official refugee resettlement programs. Most will need to find another way to safety, including traveling to U.S. soil to claim asylum. Amina doesn't understand that her family is different from families who have permanent legal status. She's thankfully unaware that she and her parents face deportation unless they can successfully prove their case before a judge. She doesn't realize that as asylum seekers, her parents have no legal authorization to work or to claim public benefits, or that the under-the-table jobs that are open to them come with both higher risks and lower pay. I connected with Amina's family last summer through an immigrant services organization that operates near the US-Mexico border. Since 2021, as you've heard, I've been working with other members of this congregation, as well as members of other faith-based and community groups, to provide assistance to asylum seekers in Houston. Amina's father told me that the family needed access to legal counsel and ideas about where to get Amina immunized. And the group has since been able to get the family free legal help through Catholic Charities, as well as clothing, household goods, and some rides to appointments. Asylum seekers like Amina's family are here to make their own way. They've overcome tremendous odds to arrive in the US, and they're prepared to work hard. But they need a certain amount of community support, especially at first. The assistance that our congregation provides ranges from transportation to referrals to community services organizations. The families that we've assisted have come from Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. And this is in addition to the tremendous work that other volunteers from this congregation have done with resettled refugees. One of the most important things that we all provide as volunteers is a sense of community and stability, a sense that in the midst of trauma and uncertainty, there is also hope and humanity. For the last 40 years, asylum seekers and resettled refugees have been part of the fabric of Houston. Although I wish that the need for people to leave their home countries had lessened, the truth is that it has only increased. The work that we do now to walk alongside people seeking safety is as important as ever. The benefits are also as great as ever. Newcomers from Central America and later from many other countries have enriched our community and made Houston the vibrant city it is today. The legacy that began here in this sanctuary 40 years ago continues on in the work that we do today. And I'm very humbled to be able to play a part in carrying it into the future.
A second excerpt from the Reverend Bob Shibley's 1983 sermon, Sanctuary. We are religious heirs to a tradition of welcoming the sojourner. Jesus spoke of the unity of the human race to those who loved him by saying, "When I was a stranger, you welcomed me." There are human beings in jeopardy because of our nation's actions, and it behooves the citizenry to begin to rectify that dangerous situation. This is a grassroots movement that is growing all over the nation. It's financially supported in many places by people who will never set foot in a church such as ours. I imagine that most of you support the idea, but wonder about the logistics. We've decided that we will decide in favor of this only with a 2/3 vote of the membership, if they can see their way clear to it in a secret ballot. I presume that that opinion will be based on the number of volunteers we have who sign up, indicating that they would provide dinner, spend the night, or come to translate. You may think it's not worth the risk. It's a token act. It directly affects only 1 or 2 or 3 people thinking about their future. Members have to remain in the building while they're here. The INS has never entered a church building to arrest such refugees. No charges have ever been brought, but they could be. The fine is $10,000, and the jail term is 5 years. These people will have different goals. Some will move to Canada, and groups of radical nuns will drive them northwards. Some will reluctantly accept deportation in despair. Sanctuary is a chance for them to think about their goals. To offer sanctuary here, we would need your commitment. It would mean sleeping one night in the sleeping bags on the floor. It would mean some expense for the budget. It would mean involving 3 other churches, which would probably join if we decided to pioneer here in Houston. It would mean that your church is in the news because that's where the protection is in media coverage. I want people who see or hear about their church to be so proud as that they say, hey, that's my church. There are so many reasons not to do it. We're all busy. This is a busy time of year. I have extra services and an annual report and a budget to plan. And I'm in therapy, as are you. And I have to talk about my loneliness. And you have to talk about your children and your significant other. And your anxiety about when the bomb is going to fall, and why mother had to be so cold, and why father was not more affectionate. Whether you're going to be promoted because of incompetence, or am I just being paranoid when anyone ever really loved me? But my darlings, the truth is, there is a truth that it is time you know. And it was one of those truths that is cruel. There is a time when the psychotherapist stifles a yawn. Introspection is only part of life. Reaching out and being an active human being who lives in the world is another part. What I would tell you is that you get better looking when you have a project that you're involved in and the routine of life is either ignored or let slide a little bit, and feel as though you're finally living for something in the way of love and justice that transcends your life. And that's when you really know that you're living. Here ends the reading.
Open your hymnals to number 116. I'm on my way. Please rise in body or spirit and raise your voices in song.
Please join with me in the words to extinguish the chalice found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Let us go from this place knowing that we are each blessed with the power to bring more hope and healing into this world, and that when we act together, we can make a difference. Go in peace, go in love. May our lives be a blessing. Amen. Thank you for joining us. We want to know who you are and would love to connect with you. Please fill out the link to the online attendance form, and if you are on YouTube, click like and subscribe. If you're interested in joining our congregation, email us at membership@firstuuhouston.org. Thanks so much.